right, good morning. It is only 157 days into the year 2024, just about 208 days to the end of the year. Someone was even suggesting that we should start our Christmas
pale chini, yes.
Countdown.
Oh yes, tuongee na kina Diana Tariko vizuri, tuweke pale chini vizuri, countdown to Christmas.
Oh, ni mapema kiasi, lakini tutaanza very soon. Good morning. Well, this is the Morning Cafe. My name is Fred Ndimuli. How hot is the coffee where you are?
And I'm used to Stanley Nyaringita. Fred, the only countdown that we can do right now is to Friday, because it's a Junior Friday today.
Oh yes.
It's a Junior Friday.
I tell you.
Kidogo sasa tuanze sherehe.
Ni weekend imefika. Tunakwenda, lakini not yet.
Oh yes. Na Israel Mbonye kikuja tunaanza ni Nasiri na yes.
Yes. Oh great.
Ulipe 20,000. Anyway, this is Morning Cafe from 6 a.m. all the way to 10 a.m. It's a Thursday, discussing matters legal aid. We're doing a part 2 of rectifying your birth certificate due to public demand. Watu walikuwa na maswali mengi and everything. We'll be having Wakili Silas Sakiru right here, just giving you tips. Because you have so many questions regarding how do you rectify either your birth certificate or your child's birth certificate. Something happened between you and your spouse and you really want to rectify that. We'll be giving you all those tips later on. Later on, to the tail end of the show, Matters Fitness coming up your way. But State of the Nation, leo naona panel mzima.
Yes. Tuko na watu gangari. Lakini you can see the front pages. Raila Odinga makes it back to the front pages of the dailies this morning. Ruto takes over Raila's AU job bid. That's a big one on the Standard today. On the Daily Nation, Raila, I am not anyone's project. The image of the former Prime Minister beaming and taking a huge space on all the front pages today. It's been quite a while. We've not seen his face on the front pages.
Kwenye gazeti la Taifa Leo, picha yake pale, Raila Odinga pamoja na waziri mkuu Musalia Mudavadi, siku sukumwa AUC.
Habari kuu pale. A bit of a different headline, Matters Business, Parastatal Reforms, Split PSC, State House Teams. That's the front page of the Business Daily.
On People Daily, Raila's Dream Team.
Oh yes.
Same
story. I think it is the biggest discussion, Raila's AU bid, after they held that press conference jointly with the Prime Cabinet Secretary.
It is also reflected on the star on the left scroll, but the big story inside public universities, cash distress.
All right. Those are the local dailies. If you cross over into Tanzania, ni simanzi, vifo vya watu 13 na majeruhi 18 vilivyotokana na ajali iliyohusisha magari matatu, bajaji, pikipiki na guta, huku chanzo kikitajwa kuwa dereva wa lori kushindwa kulimudu gari hilo baada ya kufeli breki kwenye mteremko wa Simike. Habari pale za simanzi. Na ukiangalia ile picha haikai sawa, hata kurasa wa mbele wa Mwananchi kule Tanzania, habari kuu pale.
On to the Citizen, still in Tanzania. Kenya is reflected there. They say reveal the East Africa's most profitable banks. And they have, this is KCB Group as well as Equity Group, CEO James Mwangi for Equity as well as Paul Russo for KCB.
Oh, so at least the top 2 banks are Kenyan banks.
Yeah, the fourth one also.
So out of the top 5, we occupy 3 slots.
Oh yes.
Tanzania and Kenya are the big winners as the East Africa's banking industry continues to record impressive performance. Figures with the latest results for the first quarter of 2024 pointing to a record year. So which is the third bank?
Uganda isn't here. It's a Tanzanian one.
Okay, all right. That's the front page of the Citizen, Matters Banking in the region. In Uganda, this is the state of the nation, Mr. President. Today, President Kaguta Museveni steps up to the rostrum to deliver his State of the Nation address. The ever-expanding debt burden, matters similar to what is happening in Kenya, corruption, unemployment, and high cost of living overshadow the efforts to put in sectors like energy and roads. Now, this is a special coverage on the Daily Monitor.
Oh, yes. From pages 2 all the way to 10.
Yes, it occupies at least 8 pages of this newspaper. Yes, they talk about everything that ails Uganda, and you can see it is more or less the same
as Kenya.
It's just a reflection of what exactly is happening in Kenya.
I mean, matters the roads, even the disasters. This you might be forgiven to think this is Kenya, somewhere in Kenya.
Security,
yes,
health, same crime, same things. Yes,
the electricity supply as well.
Okay, yeah, they actually supply electricity to us. And finally, on the New Vision,
Matters Education, 1,200 students get government loans. They say 4 pages of loan scheme beneficiaries inside pages 4 and 7. This is also the conversation that is happening, was it yesterday or the day before? Similar conversations even in Kenya. That is the new vision.
I think it's on the Star. They talk about matters to do with the education funding, especially the crisis in universities. Those are the dailies this morning, and we'll be looking at the local ones with my panelists later on. A quick look at the traffic situation in Nairobi, and
help with that.
Imeleta ile picha ya mambo mengi.
Tuangalie sasa the default one ile traffic vizuri.
Now when you take a look at this, and the CBD looking good, and a quick look at Thika Road, so far so good. It's only that area at Pangani which is more or less the usual suspect. On Jogoo Road, nothing much to report. Everything is as good as always. Yes, that is if you're used to using Jogoo Road in the morning. Mombasa Road also looking good. A bit of a problem there at Capital Centre, on the opposite, heading towards town.
Yes.
A bit of a slowdown there, but it could be the exit from the expressway. Also a bit of a slowdown there, but this is what on Langata Road. When you get to that Madaraka, is it Makadara? Madaraka roundabout there at Nairobi West. A bit of a slowdown there, heading away from town, but I think it has eased off. Probably there was an incident there. Langata Road, a bit of a slowdown there next to Wilson Airport, but that's away from town, so nothing to worry about. The rest of the road looks good. And Wayaki Way 2, looking good this morning. This is what do you call it? Ngong Road. Ngong Road, nothing much to report. And finally, Wayaki Way looking good as well. And yes, here's Wayaki Way. I was looking for it. I was wondering where it is.
Nimezoea screen kubwa.
Nimezoea ile ingine hii sasa tumecompress, but anyway, it still gives the same story. So yes, the traffic situation this Thursday morning is looking good. So far, nothing to worry about, and we hope it stays the same. This is at 7 minutes past 6. Yes.
Tuangalie weather, and let's take a look at 2 areas. That is in, it started with Kisumu, 21 degrees Celsius. They say precipitation is 20%, so chances of it raining is quite high. That is in the evening. If you're in Kisumu, brace for some, brace for some sunny intervals. Temperatures as high as 28 degrees Celsius. That's at around 3 p.m. around there. From 4 p.m., expect heavy rainfall with thunderstorms. 40% heading, and it will be increasing as the night crops in. That is in Kisumu, probably, and its environs. Unajua watu wa Kisii tumezoea pia mvua na huko.
You can't say Kisii is environs ya Kisumu. Kisii is the other side.
I'm just saying Kisii pia tumezoea mvua hiyo masaa.
Very fertile.
Ikifika jioni, you just know that's how it is going to be looking like. They say precipitation in Nairobi is 10%. This means chances of it raining for today is, do expect some light showers. This is into the night though. There's some very light showers, but then this is how things are going to be looking like in during the day. It's just some normal weather. The highest temperatures for today is 23 degrees Celsius. Oh yes. And speaking of what to expect for today, so the InfoTrack is going to be releasing a report and its findings of a poll on citizen reviews. It had given some people some questionnaires on what they think concerning the direction of the country, their feedback on the Finance Bill 2024, as well as key issues of concern in the country. They will be releasing that report today. We'll be giving you that subsequent bulletins and just tabulating what people are saying. Speaking about Finance Bill as well, we expect the Kenya Human Rights Commission will this morning be holding a meeting to address its views on the Finance Bill 2024, including business environment and the living costs as well. So it'll be, this meeting is starting between 7 a.m. all the way to around 10 a.m. We'll be giving you that as well. Into matters population, so the National Council for Population and Development will today be launching the sessional paper number 1 of 2023 on the Kenya National Population Policy for Sustainable Development. Quite some figures might be released on this particular meeting, so we do expect and will be breaking it down for you. That is what to expect in our news diary. That and more, stick around for it. Let's take a look at now a deep dive into the papers.
Yes, to kick off with the Standard, it's interesting that even as the former Prime Minister and the Prime Cabinet Secretary were addressing the media, they were using the AU flag. They're already using it. So even the image of Raila Odinga on the front page of the Standard has the AU flag as part of it right behind him. Ruto takes over Raila's AU job bid. Inside Campaign Hub, President William Ruto and Raila Odinga are leaving nothing to chance in the quest for African Union Commission chairmanship. With government taking charge, even as opposition chief discloses that they have agreed to cut bureaucracy and unveil a well-oiled joint drive. Matters Raila Odinga's AUC chairperson's bid, making it back to the front pages of the dailies this morning. This is one of those stories that had really waned. No one was talking much about it, but now it is back with a bang. The other story given prominence on the front page is right below that story. Why state wants court to give nod to GMOs. President Ruto, determined to push for adoption of GMOs, asks court to throw out 4 petitions and adopt a decision that approved BT maize. That story is on page 8. The front page of the Standard today makes a very interesting highlight. Kibaki, friends and sons knew of other daughter. Wow. This is about the former president, the late Mwai Kibaki. The story is on page 6. And the headline says, woman claims she is Kibaki's daughter born out of wedlock. The woman says Kibaki's sons and ex-cabinet ministers Kenneth Matiba, Julius Kiano, and former Income Tax Commissioner G.K. Ihiga knew about her birth. This comes as Jacob Ochola, who claims to be Kibaki's son, insisted on his quest to have the former president exhumed for a DNA test.
It reminds me of that day the first lady of the wife to the late Kibaki stood behind the late president and said, ulizeni hizo maswali sasa.
Oh yes. But it's
I know you were
very
there.
accurate.
I know you were there. You were probably covering that.
I was there, not at State House, but yes, I was somewhere in the newsroom. Oh yes, very interesting stories there, especially when it comes to personal details about families. Let's take a look at more highlights on the top strip of the front page of the Standard. World Bank now folds Treasury's tax plan and targets. Wow, the World Bank says, this is interesting. The story is on page 7. And let me see, what the World Bank warns that Ruto tax plans will disrupt business. The irony.
Wow.
We've all been saying it is the World Bank and IMF forcing this government to do this, but now the World Bank says, mmekuja sana. Malta's business states new push to curb counterfeits. On the international scene, how Modi's party lost majority, and finally more doping sanctions on the way in Malta sports. We'll flip the paper and talk about Euro 2024. Coach Spalletti chews over Euro title defense. Italy's coach Luciano Spalletti reacts in their friendly match against Turkey. A revamped Italy defend Euro's crown, where World Cup dreams were made. So yes, for lovers of the Euro 2024, something to look forward to.
Oh, yes. If you look at
that's the Standard.
If you look at Spalletti real quick, unaweza dhani ni coach wa Man City.
Guardiola.
Yes. I think they're probably related. Yes.
You never know.
On the front page of Daily Nation, the photo of Raila Odinga. They say, Raila, I'm not anyone's project. AUC bid, it is now all systems go after the government. Yesterday officially unveiled the roadmap for former Prime Minister Raila Odinga's and Kenya's candidacy in the forthcoming election of the next chairperson of the Africa Union Commission. At a joint press briefing with the Prime Cabinet Secretary, Musalia Mudavadi, the opposition leader said he was ready for the continental task ahead. It was on pages 4 and 5, and on the left scroll they give a background on who Odinga is going to be facing this candidacy with. On the bottom, finally, we've been talking about matters vaccines, and they say relief as state releases 1.2 billion cash shillings vaccines. This is, they've juxtapositioned this with yesterday's paper, where they had said anatomy of a sick nation. On the top scroll, preparations for Swahili Day, which will be on the 7th of July. So it is 1 month to the Kiswahili Day.
Kiswahili Day. That will be interesting.
Oh yes. Tuanze kujifunza maneno ya Kiswahili.
Exactly.
Sijui hiyo siku
ni muhimu.
Tuanze
tutachapa show kwa lugha ya Kiswahili. Tajaribu.
Mwelekezi ni direct, producer tumwitaje?
Producer. Kuna mhariri, kuna mwelekezi na kuna kinara.
Tunaweza sound engineer. Hiyo tutafikiria, lakini producer
yule jamaa wa masauti.
Producer tukubalishe tufanyie Kiswahili. That is the front page of Daily Nation. And you flip the back page, the whole conversation on vaccines. And that is, in a nutshell, Taifa Leo. Now, we can take a look at Taifa Leo.
Yes, kwenye ukurasa wa mbele wa Taifa Leo, siku sukumwa AUC, kiongozi wa Azimio asema alishtuka serikali ilipounga mkono azma yake ya kuwania wenyekiti wa baraza la AU. Kinara wa ODM Raila Odinga amesema azma yake ya kuwania wenyekiti wa tume ya muungano wa Afrika AUC si mradi wa serikali ya Kenya. Yeye si project, anasema hivyo. Lakini kwenye ukurasa wa pili.
Lakini na bajeti.
Anasema hata ameshtuka, ameshangaa kwa amepangia, lakini kama watamsaidia wakiunga mkono hata kata. Vidokezo zaidi, Muturi atetea zao la muguka. Mwanasheria mkuu asema biashara hiyo inategemewa na idadi kubwa ya wananchi. Masuala ya muguka yanaendelea kuleta utata. Kule Afrika Kusini, ANC tayari kwa nusu mkate. ANC inaendelea kutafuta washirika ili iweze kuunda serikali ya muungano. Habari yenyewe kwenye ukurasa wa 8. Pale juu, Kenya sasa kutenga siku ya Kiswahili. Habari sawia na ile iko kwenye ukurasa wa mbele wa Daily Nation. Waziri Jumwa asema shughuli nyingi za kitaifa zitaendeshwa kwa Kiswahili. Na hiyo tunakubaliana naye. Kwenye masuala ya spoti, De Bruyne Uarabuni kusaka donge. Mbelgiji huyo wa miaka 32 abakisha mwaka mmoja katika mkataba wake wa Man City. Kutoka huko anatumai kuenda Uarabuni kama yule jamaa anaitwa Ronaldo.
Lakini bado Ronaldo ni mbuzi, sijui kukubaliana.
Ni goat. Sio mbuzi. Kuna tofauti.
On the front page of Business Daily, parastatal reforms split PSC State House teams, and they say PSC terms new state corporation guidelines illegal. It also says split reveals a fund to control billions under parastatals. Other highlights on the bottom, loans defaults hit 18-year high on soaring interest rates. Wow. Yeah,
they say Kenyans had defaulted on more than 6.1 billion shillings in loans in April 2024. That's the situation in Kenya currently.
So they're saying the data released by Central Bank of Kenya yesterday showed that the gross non-performing loans as a ratio of total advanced loans soared to 16.1% by April, up from the 15.5% in February. You can take a look at that on the front page of Business Daily on the ticker. That's on the right scroll. Can take a look at matters, the graphic of the week. Rural folk getting rich faster than city residents. Interesting. Kenyans living in rural areas are getting rich faster than millions of their counterparts who have migrated to cities, in a trend that is redefining wealth creation in the country. So siku hizi hata ukisema unaenda Nairobi kutafuta, it doesn't make sense.
I remember back in the 90s there was a campaign wasema turudi mashambani. Because everyone had relocated to urban areas and rural areas were not as lucrative. But now, I think if you live in a rural area and because life could be a bit cheaper, then you actually live a lot more in your pocket. Rent is cheaper, food is cheaper. You see, so it actually does make sense.
Right now, the rural areas that were there in the 90s, some have turned out to be sort of urban centers.
Yes,
compared to right now.
Plus, because of the mushrooming of many urban centers, many rural areas now have access to a lot of, from a very short distance.
Yes.
Yeah, which is positive.
That is the Business Daily. You can take a look at People Daily.
Same story as the front pages of other dailies. Raila's dream team, eyes on the prize. Former Prime Minister assembles a galaxy of retired diplomats and scholars to work alongside foreign ministry officials in campaign for Africa Union post ahead of February elections. Some of the images of those who are helping with this job hunt include Mahbub Maalim, Elkana Odembo, Caroline Karugu, and Professor Makao Mutua. And of course, yes, the Prime Cabinet Secretary Musalia Mudavadi. Other highlights on the front page of this paper, how Kenyans were fed on poisonous sugar. This story is on page 6, if at all you'd want to read more on that. And another story, relief as children vaccines arrive finally. We had raised concern about that, and at least the government is acting. A disturbing story here, senior NIS officer dies in suicide wave. Why are they calling it a wave? Spy shot himself inside his city home, bringing to 15 the number of people who've taken away their lives in the same manner this month. And yes, they're talking about it being a wave. Probably this is the only paper that has captured that angle of that story.
On the front page.
Yes. And finally, on the Star.
Inside public universities' cash distress, they hadn't paid suppliers for goods, services totaling to 13 billion cash shillings. More on pages 4 and 5. They said debts have overrun assets by about 43 billion cash shillings. On the bottom, there are photos of the day there, pain of reclaiming rivers land. And this is a conversation that many Kenyans are having, because a number of areas around Nairobi, there's demolition that is going on if your residential house is just near a sewerage.
Even this looks like somewhere very close to Mata Hospital and the Dar es Salaam road in industrial area. So this actually go-downs and warehouses around that area, because there's a river that passes there. So some of the buildings are also being pulled down. And I'll be talking to one of my panelists this morning, Robert Alai, MCA Kileleshwa.
Oh, yes.
I'll be coming and we'll be discussing some of this with him.
Other highlights, why Kenyan men decide against cuts. Wow, okay, that's on the left scroll. They say a growing number of men aged 25 to 39 may have decided against circumcision, and no amount of persuasion appears to change their stance. A new study suggests, while they gave researchers the main reasons for not taking up the cut, which is highly beneficial in preventing HIV, the men kept changing goalposts once their concerns were addressed. Okay. Maneno ya education, Moi University land leased irregularly, and that conversation and the handshake there, they say the ex-Prime Minister Raila Odinga as well as Prime Cabinet Secretary Musalia Mudavadi there. But Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua makes it back to the front page.
This is the only paper I think that has carried this story today. What's happening to the Deputy President? I think the whole of last week it was his image on the front pages. Now he's been squeezed to that top corner.
Oh yes.
But occupies more space.
But Monday tulianza naye. Yes.
Nataendelea. Mambo inachemka, it is boiling nicely, as Gabriel Oguda would say.
Yes. They say lawmakers slash DP Rigathi Gachagua budget by 500 million cash shillings. Reminds me what...
Say it as 500 million shillings for it to have more impact.
500 million.
Yeah.
Hey, we'll take nini ya kufua nguo, because I was even wondering.
All right, let's take a look at the cartoons today. And Harry is back on page 14 of the Standard. And this looks, there's a lot of yellow on the cartoon, so yes, matters UDA party politics. And we have an image of the president there on a flagpole, on a UDA flagpole. And he says, I see what you are doing, stop it. And he's talking to the vote-rich high-altitude Mount Kenya region. I see what you're doing, stop it. On page 17 of the Daily Nation, same story as on the front pages, Raila Odinga's AUC bid. I thank the government for its support. That's Raila Odinga addressing the media.
Meanwhile,
someone is actually cementing his feet down there, and that's the Prime Cabinet Secretary Musalia Mudavadi. So yes, according to this cartoon, this AUC bid has everything to do with the government, but Raila Odinga says, nashukuru for your support. I thank you for your support. It wasn't really necessary, but I thank you for it.
Is bricks, I'm overthinking about the bricks had to be orange.
No, I don't know. On page 10, Stano's take.
Yes, I need some petty cash for 1.1 billion cash shillings from your wallet for my luxury, is what this huge gentleman on top of a Gazla, the Medical State House, is saying. And there's a common wananchi pale chini. It has to do with, I think, what the whole slashing of the budget for State House.
Yes, there's a big man syndrome. He needs a lot of money for his luxury. Meanwhile, is crushing the Mwananchi under the weight of that burden. That's a cartoon on People Daily. That's Stano's take. Yes. Right about now.
Umesema tuone watch mpya.
Oh yes.
Unaweza karibisha hapa pia.
I got a nice watch for my birthday the other day.
I realized on Monday, but I kept quiet.
You know, it was a birthday weekend. Anyway, we will be looking at some of these headlines with my panelists after the break. Do stand by for that, and of course you can be part of that conversation. Do you have panelists there? It would be nice to introduce them. Do stand by for this conversation, and of course you can be part of it through social media. On X, our handle is at TV47 News. On Facebook is at TV47 Kenya. My Twitter handle is at Fred Indemuli.
And your _, there is the panel.
Yes, Robert Alai, MCA Kilelesho Ward, Kiroga Dhuku, Chairperson UDA MCA's Caucus, Murungi Ndai, Public Finance Management Act expert, and Joyce Wamahio, economic and political expert. Do stand by for this conversation after the break.
Oh yes.
And this was me 15 years ago.
Our Father who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name.
Hadithi yake ya kipekee.
He killed my child! He killed my people!
And you are supposed to deliver to us 6,000
Usiogope. Those bad men will no longer be coming for you.
The minute you get inside that door, you become now the wife.
Na kila maamuzi wanayoyafanya hufichua mengi kuhusu utu wao na uongozi wao.
We see God blessing us. We now realize the power of giving. I think I can use the word poor. Has to be poor.
So I'll go and improvise.
Kupitia kipindi Mfahamu Kiongozi, kupitia mahojiano ya kusisimua, uzi wa kina kuhusu viongozi wetu.
On Fahamu Kiongozi, we focus on Joash Mahandi, Ambassador to Kampala, Uganda. With me,
Usikose kila Alhamis saa 1:30 jioni.
Explore Africa's inspiring legends. Stories of courage, resilience, and the indomitable African spirit.
I think as far as Africa is concerned, music cannot be for enjoyment. Music has to be for revolution.
Entrepreneurship isn't just about starting a business.
What was really important was pay back time to nature.
The environment is everyday issue. It's the air we breathe. It's the water we drink. It's the food we eat. And we can't live without these things.
So, Faces of Africa on TV47. Remember, being an entrepreneur isn't just a job, it's a way of life. Join the journey. Become an entrepreneur. The Grind, Mondays at 7:30 p.m.
Niregea kinyozi, hapa hakuna kunyalewa na deni. Hapa kazi tu hakuna utiaji. Mwenzako akinyolewa chakotia maji.
I'm Nancy Jorobia. I'm mother of Jorobia. I have 2 girls and a boy. With Clinton.
Ningenyamaza yote tisa, but for it, is that who you have picked over me? Umeniacha nimeachika ni sawa.
Let's go beyond the limit every Saturday at 8 p.m.
What if the only limits are the ones we set ourselves? Welcome Beyond the Limit celebrates extraordinary disabilities. From
ball is just a part of exercise.
Step 1. Finding the perfect plot. We explore witness the power of determination and see how boundaries are being defined.
I feel comfortable sharing my story.
This is a electricity Toyota.
This is a Toyota
7L. Smart every Saturday at 8 p.m. From paint choices to fixtures, it's all about Step 5.
First things first.
We are taking it back.
You acting kind of shady, ain't calling me baby. Why the sudden change?
The 90s. Tuesdays, 80s. '70s. And the 2000s.
Kila kiongozi ana hadithi yake ya kipekee.
Here on Old School Sunday from 2 p.m.
Get ready to meet your favorite pals on Kids on the Block. Settle in for captivating stories that will spark your imagination in our Storytime segment.
We have looked everywhere. The CCTV cameras, checkposts, passenger logs of trains and flights. We have nothing.
Whip up some yummy snacks with us in the kitchen.
Kila maamuzi wanayoyafanya,
Now for our final step, we're going to assemble our pizza.
na uongozi wao.
Discover the wonder of the natural world with our wildlife adventure. And get ready to laugh out loud and learn with our puppet pals.
After
being curious about what was in the kitchen, he just wanted to eat it alone.
Join the fun every Saturday at 9 a.m. only on Kids on the Block.
Usikose kila Alhamis saa 1:30 jioni.
Good morning. It is exactly 33 minutes past 6. This is State of the Nation on Morning Cafe with me, Fred Ndimuli. We now want to take a look at the big headlines. This morning, we're privileged to have in studio Robert Alai, MCA Kileleshwa Ward. Karibu sana. Next to Bwana Alai, we have Murungi Ndai, Public Finance Management Act experts, meaning we'll be discussing matters to do with the budget, and also Joyce Omahio, economic and political expert. It's good to have you in studio. Karibuni sana.
Thank you so much.
We've reserved a seat for Kiruga Dhuku, chairperson UDA MCA's caucus. He's the MCA Shinga Ward in Odhaya sub-county of Nyeri. He's also a member of the UDA NEC. The party is going through party elections, and he'll be telling us more of that. But let's start with the panelists already on set, and you realize that Raila Odinga is back on the front pages. It's been a while. We had not seen his image on the front pages, but all the front pages today, Ruto takes over Raila's AU job bid with an image of Raila Odinga there. That's the Standard. Raila, I'm not anyone's project. That's the Daily Nation. We have the same on People Daily, The Star, and Taifa Leo. And there seems to be an attempt, because I've seen even that on the Daily Nation, especially Raila saying, I'm not anyone's project, and with the cartoon on page 17 of the Daily Nation, he says, I thank the government for its support, but the government appears to be doing other things down there, cementing his legs, making sure he doesn't move. That Bwana Alai says a lot, that there seems to be an attempt to distinguish between Raila's bid and what the government input is in this campaign. Yet we always understood that the government support was going to be crucial in this. Why the need to say, okay, fine, there's a distinction?
I think, thank you, Fred, and the TV47 family for having us here this morning. I think that the explanation Honorable Raila gave yesterday was very candid enough. when he explained that for you to be a candidate for this position, your country has to support you. And that is where he said the engagement with the country or the national government comes in. And he says that he got interested before even anybody in government. He was not sure if they were also going to support his bid. And he said that when he approached them and they said yes, he was very surprised. He was equally surprised. So I think that one, just saying that it's very unfortunate that we are bringing season 2 of the I'm Not Anyone's Project into Raila's campaign, because we have just come from that in the 2022 election campaigns, where we were trying to say that we are not Uhuru's project, but now again we are being framed as Ruto's projects. I think that the country is going through a lot of things. Our role as the opposition party is still very clear. We are going to put the government in check to ensure that they deliver on their mandate. But be it as it may, I think that Raila has a very clear role to ensure that he delivers on his own bid. With his network, just open the secretariat, but also the kind of network he's going to get from the government.
Okay, yeah. But clearly we do appear like we're missing his presence, given the kind of dedication that all the local dailies have given to this story. Bwana Murungi, do you see the need for the former Prime Minister to try and distance himself from even the kind of support he's getting from government? Is it necessary? Is there a risk if at all his bid is linked to government support at this time?
Well, thank you so much. First, thank you for having me here. I believe, as Robert has said, Raila Odinga he is his own self, and his contribution into Kenyan politics is really huge, and nobody can argue about that. But also remember, he has also contributed infrastructure-wise within the African space. And the opening from the Pacific to the Indian Ocean and all that. And him getting into government, or rather being supported by the government, is something which I would say natural, because that position cannot just go without the recognition of the government. Well, the president and maybe Musalia and other people might be having their own agenda, maybe to push him away from the Kenyan politics, but that cannot really happen like in totality. So he deserves even bigger.
But you do agree that that is a general feeling by most Kenyans, that the government did this specifically to get him out of this political space?
Yeah, that is true. If they were told, give another person who is better than him, they would have tried to look at one of their cronies or something like that. But now, because there is nobody who is standing better, in fact, in East Africa, not only in Kenya, better than Raila, then they didn't have a choice but let's push him. But deep inside, maybe they might be having some other agenda. But for us as Kenyans, supporters and non-supporters of Raila Odinga, we would like to see him up there and then contribute. You see, Musalia said even Africa would like to have a Baba, so why not?
Joyce, of course, the feeling is that the government's intention, there's a lot hidden in the government's intention. And even Raila Odinga appears to recognize this fact. On the front page of Taifa Leo, he insists, sikusukumwa AUC. Asema hata yeye alishangaa, alishtuka serikali ilipounga mkono azma yake ya kuwania wenyekiti wa baraza la AU. Definitely, the nation misses Raila Odinga's input and the kind of conversations that we're having now, even on the finance bill, even on the NADCO report. Each and every conversation that we're having right now, we're feeling the vacuum, the absence of Raila Odinga. He seems to recognize this. Do you really think that the conversation would have been different? The conversations we're having right now would have been different, including on the taxation issues?
Thank you. I'm always at home at this TV station. I'm proud to be associated with the TV47. Raila Odinga feels that he's isolated. And he wants to make a definition of himself. The fourth government and the fifth government have used him as a project. We need to be candid to ourselves. That Uhuru, during the reign of Uhuru, somebody mentioned that he was Uhuru's project during the hashtag period. The fifth government, they're feeling that again he's the project, because if he's not the project, why was there an elaborate effort yesterday at Railway Plaza to launch his bid? He would have launched his bid at Upper Hill, at Karen, but why precisely launch his AU bid at Musalia Mudavadi's office? So much as he would want to disassociate himself with the issue of the project, if he did independently launch his bid away from this institution, then we would have said he's on a project. Of course, we miss Baba. Maandamano cannot be sweeter without Baba. Tear gas cannot be sweeter without Baba. So this discussion on taxation is a bit lacking the oomph because Baba is not there. But again, Kenyans are equally agitated this time around. But with or without Baba, this discussion will go on. Yes.
It's a quality of discussion, and the push behind this kind of discussions, as Joyce says, the discussions appear to be lacking the oomph. Do you agree with that assertion?
First I would like to disagree with that. Baba is a project. Baba has never been a project of anybody. In fact, everybody has wanted to be Baba's project. And he started with Moi, wanted to be his project at some point. You remember when the project didn't succeed, and he wanted Baba to run the Uhuru's campaign. It didn't work. But it also very telling that even Kibaki became Baba's project. And when he was most vulnerable, it was Baba who ensured that he got onto the seat of the presidency. When Uhuru was being asked in 2017, 2018, that what is going to be his legacy, he looked for Baba, and he became Baba's project, though people were interpreting it the other way around. When Ruto is being asked the hard questions, you remember at some point in this country, Ruto could not speak to any of the East African presidents. He was having a tiff with every one of them. I think he got to the ear of the president. At some point, even him, he claimed that I am a founder member of ODM. He was reminding us that I am your son. Why don't you just hold my hands? So I think people need to realize that it is not Baba wanting to be anybody's project. In fact, Baba has done his bit. He is at a place where even if he retires today, his legacy and his contribution to this nation cannot be gainsaid. So I think that it is only fair for Kenyans to recognize the role he has played, but also to recognize that this role he is taking up cannot work. His campaign cannot work without the input of the country. So the country has to take charge because it's at the continental level, and is going to lead the continental body. He has to provide a vision, and his candidature is going to succeed best if the country holds his hand and take it upon themselves to reach out to the other countries so that they can at least deliver them the candidate.
All right, it is the biggest discussion this morning on all the front pages. Allow me to welcome onto the set Kiruga Dhuku, Chairperson UDA, MCA's Caucus, and also a member of the UDA NEC. Karibu sana Bwana Dhuku. You found us discussing the main headline on all the dailies. It has nothing to do with the UDA party, don't be scared. But it is Raila Odinga and his AUC bid, and interestingly enough, it is what everyone is talking about in as far as the dailies are concerned. I don't know if there's anything you may want to add. Many people have been questioning the UDA's intention in backing Raila Odinga's bid for the AUC job, and they seem to be reading it different and saying there could be underlying or hidden cards under the table.
Okay, thank you very much, friend. Good morning, viewers. Good evening, fellow panelists. For the first time, Honorable Raila have arrived for any show before me. Apologize for, Nyeri is a bit far. So, my take would be Baba's cogitation at the AU and the robust approach the government has taken towards the matter goes to show the magnanimity of our president. Many people will always accuse some of us of, always supporting the president. But if you remember on the day of inauguration, the president did on putting down the Bible. Second, his predecessor, the President Uhuru Kenyatta, to become a peace ambassador in the region. Likewise, the president has come out openly and supported BAMBA's candidature on behalf of the country. And that is something very good for this country because, you know, many people will argue about economies doing this way or that way. But without, you know, a good political atmosphere, nothing can thrive, whether it is politics, whether it is the peace of the nation. You can remember those times we had those crises, the skirmishes after elections. So, by supporting BAMBA's candidature, the president and the government are trying to bring the country together.
Was that the intention, to ensure there's at least the political space is pacified enough for the UDA government to work?
And appreciating, because you know that act of appointing former President Uhuru, then supporting BAMBA's candidature, this shows a president and a government keen in portraying that image that everyone in this country is important, and the image of the country is more important than any divisions we may have in the political field.
And I do agree with you, and I really appreciate your honesty in this, because there's a discussion about, and I remember immediately after, one of the economic advisors of the president said that probably, and he drew parallels with the Moi Kibaki's government, and he said that Kibaki's failure probably was born out of failure to ensure that the politics is handled, and he focused more on the development. Then he said Ruto will use at least a good chunk of the first few months or years to handle the politics of the country, then he can embark on development. Do you agree with that, Bwana Murungi, that President Ruto has done well in as far as handling politics, and in that handling Raila Odinga?
You know, Fred, and I would like to say that any government is elected not necessarily to handle politics and social issues, but to primarily see to it that people are in a better situation to do businesses, to improve their economic status. Well, as far as I'm concerned, I would say that Ruto has done his part, as far as politics is concerned. But look at those politics in terms of health, for instance. Look at those politics in terms of maybe even the revenue collections at the national level, for instance. Things are not doing good. Look at that political handling in terms of the affordability of, say, like loans for SMEs and such other kind of, you know, we have some other items that must run concurrent with politics. And I do believe that economics and politics can never be detached. But if you rely so much on political side and then you forget economic side, you say that I'll deal with this first and then handle this first, then there will be shambles. There will be just a lot of confusion, because what people want is that when I put the Bible down, then what? So how much have you done? He didn't talk about political promises. He talked about economics. He talks about making these mama mboga and mwananchi better off. But what have you seen?
Out of necessity, he may have needed to ensure that at least the political space is good enough for him to be able to deliver on some of those promises?
Fair enough. Fair enough. But however, you should not also forget this other side, because it is the side that holds the country together. You know, when people are not good economically, political, there will be people complaining, and when people are complaining, mostly they are complaining due to lack of, and that lack of can only be handled through economics. Well, in politics, he has done his part, and that's all right. But we did.
He's managed to pacify the country politically.
Yes, somehow. But economically, he's really not done as good. He's really not done as good.
I need to remind my brother, and all of us here, everyone here, you, the panelists, and all our viewers, when there was the post-election violence, when there were maandamano immediately after these elections, everyone knows the atmosphere was so tense. In fact, if the maandamano had prolonged, even investors from foreign countries would have run away. So what I want to remind my brother is that for a good economy to thrive, there need to be the right atmosphere. And although the government and the president, it's very genuine in supporting Baba's bid, because you know that also projects the country very positively. But then you see, it pacifies the country and people are able to settle down and now pursue the economic benefits to the country. Now look, even this Arai here, I know he has been my friend, but at some point, he was even accusing me of, because we were differing so much in those politics, now he was accusing me I have forged my Form 4 certificate. I attacked him so much until he blocked me from his page. But now you see, we will even be brothers. We may even go to campaign for Baba together.
He's blocked you from his... We'll try and sort that. But coming to Joyce.
Yes.
There seems to be some utility for this administration in ensuring that Raila Odinga is pacified in as far as politics is concerned. Do you think that in as far as that is concerned, the president has done well for himself politically?
Yes or no? Yes, both yes and no. Allow me to go to my brother from Chiga. When he says the president has dealt with the politics positively, I would rate him a D-. In his neighborhood of Madeira, where the deputy president comes from, the son of Madeira, is at the sage. So if that is how you define political success, then to me we need a whole dictionary to define political success. Come to UDA Nairobi. We have the Sakaja and Gakuya group. Is that how you manage positively manage politics? To me it's a no. Look at Standard page 7. The World Bank wants that Ruto tax plans will disrupt business. Both economically and politically, the president has not managed this country, and it is in black and white. Even the bride can see that the leadership of Kenya Kwanza have not managed anything positively. We need to start from there. Baba, I wish Baba Reika, the cartoon on the Daily Nation, where the Kenya Kwanza government is cementing his foot so that he does not leave. This is the prayer of Kenyans. Baba, do not leave this country. We need good leadership in this country, and the leadership can only be provided by the board, and the board belongs to Baba.
Okay. And it's good that you've talked about what's happening within Kenya Kwanza itself and the UDA party. There exists some very serious divisions as we speak. The president's intention was to ensure that politics is handled initially, then he's able to deliver on his promises. He appears to have failed spectacularly in as far as his own party is concerned, Bonalai.
Yeah, managing political parties is not easy. I think we have, our own fair share of, trying to now to deal with the people who want to inherit their father's girlfriend or wife before the father is dead. We've seen everybody claiming to be wanting to be kingpin, leader, ODM, and so on. So that one happens, but I don't think that we need to even give much attention to what is happening in UDA, because I believe that first, it is a distraction, but secondly, I don't know the seriousness of it, but if it is serious, I think it is from what the doctor requested for Gachagua. He basically begged us to take him this way. He begged us. He wanted to be, you're a deputy president, you're from the presidency, and one of the symbols of national unity is the presidency. So when the deputy president was going around the country and talking of shareholding in politics, he was isolating himself from the country. And he was stopping from being, the candidate of Kenya and the president of Kenya. You saw at some point when the now President Ruto was campaigning to succeed Uhuru Kenyatta, he barely touched on his own backyard. He was everywhere else but his backyard. In fact, they were complaining that huyu jamaa anapeana pesa kila pahali, lakini kwetu hatumuoni. Because he knew that for him to capture the country, he has to get other people to accept him first. He went as far as even owning properties in far-flung places, Tana River, in Narok, at least to get some other people to own him first. But the current deputy president wanted to be Kikuyu first. And it is going to hurt him because you can see from its own, tribulations in UDA and also further in Nairobi where the politics of the day. We have told him that in Nairobi, if you check, we have 2 camps, Azimio and Kenya Kwanza. In Kenya Kwanza, it is basically Kikuyu from start to end. In Azimio, it is a very diverse group. We have Arabs, we have Kisis, Luos, Kikuyus. We have even Kikuyus in ODM, including in Jubilee. Also, we have Jubilee in Kikuyu. But you see the diversity in UDA is lacking. In Kenya Kwanza, if you add all the other parties which make up the Kenya Kwanza, it's lacking. I think the deputy president has to realize that that office, for him to deliver as a politician and as a senior politician, second to the president, I think it is going to hurt him so much if he keeps on fighting for the interest.
Do you think he miscalculated by picking Nairobi as a battlefront?
I think he miscalculated because the interest and he might think that Sakaja is his enemy, but he might find it hard to believe that probably Ruto doesn't want his proper influence in Nairobi. Because the moment he takes over Nairobi, he can easily, you can hear the cries in the UDA, he can easily destabilize the capital city and to the discomfort of the president. So I don't think that President Ruto would want an influential, if President Ruto wanted an influential Gachagua in Nairobi, Sakaja would not be the governor now.
Okay.
Yeah.
It means the president himself has not been successful in as far as handling the politics within his own party. You've been here and defended the deputy president not once, every single time you are on this panel. What do you have to say about his woes right now?
Number one, I thought my sister was making an error because now she was delving into nearly politics and we were discussing Baba's Kadesha bucket. It's okay.
No, we've actually transitioned to the politics of the UDA party.
Then my brother.
And you are a member of the UDA now.
Yes, I am, of course.
And the chairman of the UDMC.
Yes, caucus, yes.
The chairman of the bottom.
The big person in yeah, but you see, my brother Arai, he will always be a politician. And he will always try to compete politically. When he says Kenya Kwanza in Nairobi is made up of Kikuyu also, and I don't think that is right, because we even have rules who are our members. Now I'm in the party, I know we have, this is the biggest party, the governing party in the country, and in the capital city. And I can even show him some of his friends who are in our party. But Occidental, in politics, there will always be these squabbles here and there. But as members of the president's party, some of us don't want to be distracted. When we were campaigning, we went out there, we gave a plan. We are privileged, God has helped. Some of us are privileged to sit in the president's neck. And our sole mission is to support the president and his government in implementing the plan and the promises he promised to Kenyans. Starting right from where I represent my people and the link between my people and the government. Therefore, with me, I cannot say much. What I can say is that
what is your position between the two camps? The one supporting the deputy president and the one against him?
No, with me, I don't know much of those camps because, personally, I'm telling you, no, let me say something. I shall know who you are. I shall know who you are. Like. You know, all these leaders in my party, starting from His Excellency the President, the Deputy President, the Honorable Dedi, the likes of Itubi, Akina Mwangi Kiujuri, they are my personal friends. Someone like Honorable Mwangi Kiujuri, he helped me during my first time as an MCA to get 250 million for a water project in my ward. The president is the first, I think it is better to say this, the president is the first politician. We invite him to churches in my area. He trusts you, he is mentoring you. He gives you 1 million shillings. Take this to a halab in your area. That shows trust.
What about the deputy president? Yes.
Barely a month ago, I informed him of one of our supporters who had succumbed in our area. He sent me with his contribution. So what am I saying? You know, if I find you, you are my friend,
you're caught in between.
These are my friends, yeah, and you are fighting.
Okay.
I might just as well come and be a coffee and learn.
Away from the politics of personalities, yes. There's what people are talking about, and the Deputy President, there's this debate on ethnic balkanization that the Deputy President has found himself at the center of, being accused of pushing ethnic or tribal interests, and everyone else is talking about the national interest. What do you say to that?
Let me say this, for avoidance of doubt and, you know, in stark language. The vision carrier in our party is His Excellency the President.
Okay.
The President has stated he would want to unite this country. This one you see him appointing President Uhuru to continental, you know, peace-making missions. Now he's there supporting BAMBA. The President wants to bring the country together. And as his foot soldiers, as his supporters, when he talks of unity of the nation, and we know what this unity in this country has cost us, we have no other option other than to pursue and follow our vision carrier's vision, uniting the country.
Okay.
Every tribe, Kikuyu, the Luo, the Kalenjin, the Coast people, and others.
It's clear the ground has shifted.
Yes.
The President's intention to handle politics has failed. Do you agree with that?
Yes, and I insist. You see, when I listen to my brother Mheshimiwa, I actually even sympathize with them. You see, he's talking about the presidency of tokenism. He's talking about he gave me $1 million to go and give out.
No. That's not what I meant.
Let me finish. I think it's already there. So it shows this guy, we are supporting him because he's a tokenist president, which is really, really bad. What has he done to the people? What does he want to do to the people? Now you talk about, say for instance, Mount Kenya. Let me tell you, President Ruto is good at what he's doing. The squambles in my region, Mount Kenya region, it is by design. Mm-hmm. So, you know, any king who gets to power, his first mission is to make sure he deals with the kingmakers. One of the kingmakers he thinks is Gachagua. So how do I deal with Gachagua? I'll make him so uncomfortable. And in fact, today people are calling him Deputy President of Mount Kenya region. I would also call him, so he's a Deputy President of Mount Kenya region, because he's always there and he's talking about that. He's trying to. Secondly, he wants to deal with Raila, another kingmaker, pushing him towards, but he does not know how Raila changes and turns to be even bigger and better every time, and we've seen that.
So the president is still on script?
Yeah, so he is, but I cannot see his script going on successfully to the end, because like Mount Kenya region, for instance, they will get tired because tokenism has now ended. I believe he does not go out giving them $1 million, go and give to this church. You see, we don't want that presidency of looking at so much on how do I rule, but rather we'd like how do I lead these people towards the promised places that I told them. And that is the trouble, not only in Kenya, in fact, the whole of Africa, even in the counties, the same things are happening, such that leadership is to maintain that rule, but not to actually lead in the essence of leadership itself per se. So, and I really feel sorry for our MCAs from my region, and majority of them are their supporters, and I really feel sorry for them.
You know, my brother cannot reduce my whole contribution to amnesia of tokenism, because I just used that as an example of a person. You know, many politicians, they will treat you very suspiciously. So I just used that as an example, but let me remind him.
Which is an empirical example, a real one.
No.
Thanks.
Let me remind him, the president we have here today, this year, he visited my ward. What did he come there to do? He came there to launch an irrigation project. So if I were to count, and I was using this as an example of why, as a person, I would not want to interfere with people's fights and say, personally, this, you know, when you have friends there, they are squabbling. Personally, I cannot take sides. And I have even told my friends, if that is what would make me even lose a political seat, I'm very much okay. But what I'm restating here is that the vision carrier in our party, in our government, is His Excellency the President. Okay. We will not be distracted from that. Now you see even even Akinarai, you see now they are seeing the right. Now they are coming. Now we are supporting Baba. Then we support the President to deliver.
Okay. And let's listen to a number of leaders who spoke yesterday on this divisions within the ruling coalition, Kenya Kwanza. They were speaking yesterday in Nandi. Let's listen to what they had to say.
The President and his cabinet are the first point of call in understanding the challenges that Kenya is facing. Kwa hivyo, as cabinet, we should be the last ones to contradict the direction the President is giving, because we are privy to the challenges that the country is facing.
Kufanya kazi kutoka constituency nyingine mpaka nyingine. Na sisi tumewauliza, unity ya nchi ni muhimu sana kuliko mtu binafsi. Mtu ambaye anajitakia makuu, wacha hao wabaki, waje watuulize kura siku za mwisho. Hao wabunge ambaye wanafanya kazi ya taifa, kuunganisha wa Kenya, sisi wakaaji hapa tunawapongeza.
We want to unite all the people of Kenya. If you want to lead the people of Kenya, have a plan, like our president has a plan for this country. Have an ideology that you can marshal and garner the people of Kenya to follow your ideology. But ideologies of division, ethnic balkanization, personality worship cults, that is politics of the past and overtaken by time, overtaken by generations, because that is politics that belong to past generations.
Joyce Omahio, do you think the Deputy President has totally been isolated?
Before I respond to that one, when they said that politics do not need to be localized, I wonder from which page they are reading from. Last week, Oscar Sudi was in his own village, and he used his mother tongue literally to discuss that, whatever he was discussing. Me and my friend, the MCA Shiga, do not understand that language. But I'm sure from his gimmicks and gestures, you could tell which direction he was taking. Then Deputy President goes to his own background in Nyeri, and he uses his area, the county chief. This is the governor himself. And he talks in his own language. They go to Kimiriri and everybody is discussing in his own language. When Baba goes to Bodo, he does not use English. He uses his own language. So we cannot isolate this issue of localization of our politics, because this is where the foundation of our politics. For us to be where we are, we must have started somewhere. My friend, the son from Madeira, he's on a war on his own. He's been isolated. He's isolated by Kikuyus from the mountain, particularly the person starting with the word Kimani. The word Kimani, I do not want to have a definition of the name, but they've made it impossible for the Deputy President to run this institution. The party is not reading from the same page. The party is disunited. This is the party, the leadership of that party. Either they're on a mission to isolate the Deputy President daily. I'm wondering, Fred, is the UDA trying to divert the issue of taxation so that they can bring in a lot of heat, a lot of go and fight Rigadi, so that Wajiko do not read what the Finance Bill 2024-2025 is in place? I think it is a deliberate effort by the Kenya Kwanza government, bring in a lot of heat. Yesterday they brought in the issue of Musalia Mudavadi and Baba, so that they can discuss the issue of AU. When Kenyans next week will be discussing the issue of taxation, it is the high time Kenyans rant that Kenya Kwanza government do not have goodwill on the country of this, on the welfare of this country. Their own interest is all about me, myself, and I.
Okay. Let's listen to what the Deputy President had to say on this debate. Then we'll come back and link the ongoing debate to the finance bill going forward.
Ground. And leaders of this region who want to fight unity don't speak in Western. Don't speak in Rift Valley. Come and speak here. If you think this unity is a bad thing, for the Mount Kenya region or his tribalism the way I'm hearing, don't speak outside there. Kuja ita mkutano hapa Mkurueini, useme hii umoja ya Mount Kenya ni ukabila. Kaati kuwado ito. They should come and speak from here. Don't speak from far. Because I want to advise our leaders with tremendous respect. Please, our leaders, all politics is local. Listen to your people. Listen to the ground. Align your thinking, your utterances with the people. That is what I do all the time. Mimi nasikizaga ground. I align myself with the ground. At any one time. And I've never gotten it wrong in my political life. Any time a decision has to be made, mimi naingia mashinani nasikiza, and I align to my bosses, the people. These are our bosses. And these are the final boss. Wenye kurenew contract yako ni hawa. Wenye kuterminate contract yako ni hawa. These are the people you must please. They are other bosses. Lakini the final boss ya mtu wote ya kuchaguliwa ni hawa. Na mimi najua hiyo. I know that. So me, I listen to the ground. I listen to my people. My people are saying we want to be united. And we are not being united against anybody or any other region. We are united in purpose so that we can fight for our fair share of the national cake. So that we can retain our relevance in the national political discourse. So that when we go to sit on the table to decide on what happens to Kenya, tunakuta kiti yetu imewekwa mpaka imewekelewa maua. Kwa sababu tuko wengi na tuko na nguvu. Nguvu yetu ikiisha, hatutakuwa kwa hiyo meza.
Wow, very telling statement there. He talks about listening to the ground. He talks about the fact that all politics is local. And he also talks about that the people are the final bosses. There could be other bosses, but this is a final. He's always been talking about using the word boss when he's referring to the head of state. Now he's saying the final boss is here. Bonalai, there had been threats by a number of MPs who support the deputy president that when it comes to the finance bill debate, they will actually shoot it down. Do you believe that this kind of divisions within Kenya Kwanza will actually help make the debate around the finance bill this time around a bit more robust in comparison to what happened last year?
Yeah, Fred, I think that what is happening now is, one, it might be a very, very serious distraction. You know, like they say that, you know, you're trying to be, the tail is wagging the dog here, that we are being put through the charade of UDA infighting, you know, a rogue deputy president, and so on. While, like you have seen, there are analysts who are saying that what is being discussed now in regards to the budget and the finance bill for 2024 is not actually what is contained therein. You know, people are raising questions on even what comes first. Do we discuss the estimates first, or we discuss the finance bill first? You know, so people are raising a lot of questions on what we are being put through in regards to the budget. And also when the president talks of austerity, you know, when the president talks of austerity and saying that you have to spend within our limits, and then people tell him that, you know, you need not to have hired a jet costing 200 million or 100 million and so on. And then he goes to South Korea, you know, boards an Emirates jet, flies business class, and says that at least now I'm modest enough. And you can see from the photos, you know, and so on. But back home, you're seeing the kind of fight we are being put through. I think, you know, Fred, we need to be serious as a country that what UDA is putting us through is not going to help this country. we are basically destroying the country called Kenya, because the budget is a very serious thing, and the budgeting process starts on 30th August, the previous year for this year. So it started 30th August up to now. What we are witnessing now, and you see when you hear the chairman of the budget committee in the National Assembly saying that, you can do all public participation you want, and we are going to allow you to submit your views, but some of them we are not going to negotiate on. It is very unfortunate. I had a discussion with the Honorable Kimani yesterday, and he told me that, yes, that's not the case, but I still believe that, they need to address the kind of attitude we are witnessing. When the Deputy President or his supporters say that they are going to shoot down, what are you going to solve by shooting it down? We don't need it to be shot down. We need for it to be amended.
But do you see the possibility of this squabbles being taken to Parliament in a way?
If it's real, if it's real, it's going to go to Parliament. And I believe that like Just Nation wrote sometime back, I believe that the Deputy President is looking for an exit route for 2027 out of UDA, because what he has realized that the advice of Honorable Uhuru Kenyatta, President Uhuru Kenyatta, that nyumba yenu ni Jubilee. Kaini Jubilee, they should have stuck with Jubilee. They have now realized that they are cornered. If it's real, the fight is real, and it's going to be used in the floor of the assembly to square on issues. Some of them just basically personal and petty. But I wish that it doesn't go there, because we are going to lose track. There's going to be a lot of mismatch. I don't trust the president with the leadership role he has now, because he has not shown that he can properly manage the country financially. When you see a president wearing a watch which goes for 12 million, 20 million, 10 million, how can you? It is not right.
It can be a gift.
When you see...
Is it a gift?
I'm saying it can be. We cannot come here to discuss the president's watch.
No,
unless you have receipts to even show that where he bought. It can be a gift. So let us leave what the president wears to him.
Any gift more than 200,000.
20,000, not even 200.
No, if he can afford
any gift more than 200,000,
how even do you
declared.
know? Okay. It could even be worth 1,000.
Let's not get distracted from the conversation. It is about the finance bill, because Kenyans are ventilated, and this time round, Kenyans are in a much better position to understand the implications of finance bill, of these taxation proposals, and people have talked about, they know exactly what would pain them getting into this. But at the end of the day, Bwana Murungi, it will be down to the numbers in Parliament. What we saw last year is that despite the complaints, despite public participation, members of Parliament went, debated, and still passed the finance bill of 2023 as it was, despite all the problems it had. This time around, we are hoping that probably, with the kind of divisions that we are talking about, the numbers would be different. Are you hopeful that that could happen? Because in as far as the issues, the nitty-gritties of the finance bill are concerned, we've talked about it, and they're everywhere. Even the World Bank is warning of the same. But the numbers in Parliament is what will matter.
Yeah, again, I go to my previous opening remarks about politics and economics. Now, we are talking about will they do or will they do not? And then the question is, who do they support? The same thing that Ichung'wa was talking about, personality, worship, cult. That is what we are having. Because last year, they passed the finance bill. Then, some of them from my region, standing up and saying that I didn't read. So what kind of leadership is that? I didn't read. So why did you vote? Because. So the same thing will happen today. I didn't read. I voted because I support Gachagua. I voted because I don't support Gachagua. Which is really, what we are seeing right now is distraction towards the bigger item. And the bigger item here is the budget. The bigger item here is the finance bill. It is the finance bill that makes or breaks a country. And I'll explain why. If, for instance, you penalize, take for instance, let me take one of the taxes which has been introduced, the 2.5 on car. So a person who imports car, remember, he has paid a lot of taxes, custom, excise, and all that. And then every year you are telling this person, take for instance, randomly, I know he has a big car, his car maybe is 3 million. So every year, he should be prepared to be paying how much? 75,000 every year, besides insurance and all other expenses around it. So what will happen is, Kirago and some other friends, well, it's just an example, I respect him, all other people will decide that I will not pay this. So there will be kind of, people will shy away or run or find a way of getting insurance or even not getting insurance and going. So consumption will go low. And any government which tries to push on taxes, there is no government which has ever developed out of taxation, taxing its people to the neck. Kibaki, for instance, never taxed people to the neck. What did he do? He first of all brought in development. Then people appreciated. But this development did not come just development only. They came with true austerity measures and true fight on corruption. Because even at the village level, people will say that we won't give her money because she will spend that money wrongly. But if she is a good person, we will give her money, for instance. So the same thing at the national level. The same thing also at the county level. Currently, we are doing a lot of things on county own source revenue, and we are seeing the same fight. Governors who try to increase their taxes, in fact, their taxes within the finance bill, ultimately, their collection of taxes go down because they are not coming out to address what is the real cause of this poor performance. This year, I believe it will be about 2.5 trillion. That is what the government has put. I mean, this financial year, after revision from 2.9 to 2.5. But we are really doing poorly.
And even that reduction in the budget, it would appear is in itself a weaponization of the budget-making process. There's a highlight here on the front page of the Star, talking about lawmakers slashing DP Rigathi Gachagua's budget by 500 million shillings. That in itself, it talks about lack of genuineness in the budget-making process. Tinkering with the budget this way, due to political issues, in itself is not something positive for the nation, is it?
True. And the DP's office is not the only one that have been affected grossly by the reduction of the budget. Look at the Ministry of Health. For the last 8 months, we have not had vaccines in the Ministry of Health. About a debt of about 500 million is owed to the suppliers of very vital services. Article 203 of the Constitution mandates the leadership of this country to allocate funds to the core areas of the country, like health, like education. We've not seen the government leadership putting more weight to the core areas, to the core functions of this country. Look at the Basic Education Act. During this, the 2024-2025, the Basic Education Act, about 10 billion have been again slashed from the budget. So it is not only one sector. It is not the DP Rigathi Gachagua himself who've been affected, grossly affected by the slash of the budget. It is core areas that literally need a lot of support. Fred, allow me to say this. In this budget, we have a provision of 700 million, 1 billion to go to the office of the president. 700 million will go to do a dais, a new dais altogether. I'm wondering, between me and Murugi, we're wondering, who did the big use on the dais of 700 million? Vis-a-vis the cost of vaccines worth 500 million. What is the priority? Is the priority to do a dais for the president, or is the priority to provide vaccines for our babies? Today, the vaccines on HIV for the newly born babies whose mothers are HIV positive, they are not getting vaccines. Why? Previous in the 2023 budget, there was no provision of the same. So the reduction of the budget has cut across literally so many sectors. It's only that Kenyans have not been brought to right on these sections that have been cut. Yes.
All right, and as far as the vaccines are concerned, just an update that you mentioned it on the front page of the Daily Nation. There is relief as state releases 1.2 billion shillings for vaccines, and that was announced yesterday. On this issue of the budget.
Yes. Now, we know we came from a clip, and I need to state my position. It affects my home area. And let me say this. That clip you played there.
The deputy presidents?
Yes. Okay. with me, I have no problem with people uniting, especially uniting for a good cause, for a good purpose. In fact, last year, all the leaders from Mount Kenya region, MCs, MPs, senators, governors, led by the deputy president, we went, and heads of parastatos, we went to meet the president at Sagana State Road. And before going there, we were requested every pending project in your areas, kindly identify them. You see, that is a very good unit. You know, that is my take on the best unit to have. And I would urge, and I have no problem, I don't oppose the Deputy President's call for unity, but I would urge, if, you know, at the lower level when it comes to the politics of our area, but I would, as a young leader, want to see, if we are talking of unity, I want to see the Deputy President. I want to see the likes of my friends, Honorable Ishungwa, Honorable Kijuli, Honorable Dinyoro, and all the other leaders from our region, Honorable Moses Kuria. I want to see all of them seated together, uniting our home area. If that cannot happen, and I will say this here, I will say it in my area. If that cannot happen, personally, I want to unite the people who made me their leader. I want to know what their challenges are, the bad roads, the water projects, the hospitals. Then I want to form that unity with them, that I'm able to come from that area, go to the government, and have the projects on the ground done. Because if unity cannot give results on the ground, it will not be helping us. Then, on this issue of the budget, and you know, my brother Murungi is a very good guy. In fact, he comes across as a bishop or a senior reverend. He's a very cool guy. But now,
as always, yeah, but, I come in peace.
Yeah, but I want to collect him. Mzee Mwai Kibaki didn't start by working because basically he would have no money. What? Mzee, and you know Mzee was my MP. I became an official of his party at the age of 19 years at my sublocation. So I knew him quite well. He was a good man. What Mzee, you know, we celebrated when Mzee rose to power. We were saying now we will not even be paying taxes. Our money is there. But he told us everyone must pay taxes. And he said the government doesn't have money to operate with. So what I want to inform my brother and my colleagues here is that don't say that through taxation we cannot develop. We can. When we collect taxes and they are put into prudent use, and like the president have been saying, we want to support production, because once you support production, definitely the country thrives. So what I want to say, for example, in my area, we are using government money. This year, I used a part of the government money to actually purchase goat manure. Because you see, when you use fertilizers, at times, they make the soil weak. When you use the manure, and maybe I may not understand it represents a city area, when you use the manure, you are adding value to the people there. Fertilizers are being suspected to be causing even some diseases. So once we reduce them and use manure more, that is a good way of using our money.
Let us focus a bit more on the budget cuts issue. 12.6 billion in agriculture, slashed from the agriculture docket. 10.6 billion from the health docket. 55 billion from the education docket. 48 billion in, as far as transport is concerned, and a lot more. When you weigh between more taxation and this budget cuts, it means that Kenyans will not enjoy any better facilities or better services going forward, despite higher taxation. That is a debate we should be having right now. We've reduced it to some politics, and probably in all that we've lost the details. We're getting lost in the details, don't you think?
Yeah, I believe so. And you know, in the budget making process, because you know, as the National Assembly is focusing on the budget for the country, we are also doing for the counties. In fact, we've just come for the last 2 days in Nairobi County. We have been doing the public participation on the estimates. And what you need to realize is that our biggest challenge is not reducing the budget. I don't think that we need to reduce the budget, yes, but what we need to identify are the hidden figures. It is very interesting that for the first time you are seeing in the news, you know, the presidency or the government, the executive talking about the, you know, the cuts they have made. You know, we have reduced this, we have reduced this, we have reduced that. What have you hidden? Because the challenge of this country is that there are a lot of corruption which is budgeted for. You know, you call it corruption, but somebody sneaked in 200 billion, 100 billion in the budget for just to loot. You know, so that is what we need to identify. That is the figure we need to identify, both in the counties and also in the national, you know, budget. And that's why I'm paying a very keen attention to what we've just in Nairobi. We succeeded in blocking the supplementary budget, which was passed because, you know, the MCS didn't have a strong voice to be able to oppose it. But we told the controller of budget that you cannot approve a budget which, you know, transfers 42% of the development budget into the recurrent, you know, budget, and they want to spend it within the next 1 month.
Indeed, counties have been, and this is from yesterday's dailies, that counties blow 146 billion shillings on pay.
Yes.
Alone. That is slightly more than 50% of the entire allocation to counties. Yes. Is that the budgeted corruption you're talking about?
That is budgeted corruption. You know,
all the money going to the counties is actually spent on the counties.
We need to be candid with each other. The budgeted corruption in this country is destroying lives. You know, when Okia Omtata, I think 1 or 2 days ago, was talking about identifying 100 billion, which is hidden in the budget for corruption, for people to loot away in, you know, unexplained expenses, you know, miscellaneous and so on. And when you hear that Kenya Kwanza has borrowed in a financial year 1.7 trillion, you know, the SGR, you know, the cost, you know, these arguments people are making, that, you know, the cost of SGR, what is the cost of building a level 6 hospital in this country? Probably 10 billion. If you dropped 1.7 trillion in this country today, you would know that you will feel the impact. Every part of this country would feel the impact. But when somebody tells you that he has borrowed 1.7 trillion and you don't see it in the projects being done, you don't see, the only challenge, the only improvement you see is leaders buying a vehicle, moving from buying a vehicle which was 6 million to 50 million. You know, that is the most unfortunate thing you're seeing here. Because, you know, as leaders, however rich I am, I have to be modest. You know, I have to be modest because I represent, some of the people I represent are very poor. And so I have to carry myself in such a, carry myself out in such a manner, not us to betray them. So I believe that, you know, the budgeted corruption in these budgets, national and county, we have to pay attention to that. And if we don't pay attention to that, every time we are going to be manipulated. Like you are being told by Kenya Kwanza now today that tumekata hii, so you should clap for us.
It's not necessarily consequential. Bwana Murungi, the concern is that probably at the end of it all, we're discussing huge figures, but we won't get any value from it. Yes, we may discuss, we may understand everything, and the higher taxation, the borrowing levels of this government, but when it comes to service delivery, we won't get the value.
And you know the reason? The reason is simply, when you look at the budget in totality, national budget and also county budget, the law provides that development expenditures must be 30% and above. That is Public Finance Management Act. True. But unfortunately, the national government itself is not living to it. And the proposed 2024-2025, they are talking about a budget of about 3.9 trillion or thereabout. But 2.8 towards 2.9 trillion, it is recurrent, of which 1 trillion goes to maybe repayment of interest and all that. So development expenditures is left just a little bit. And when supplementary budgets are done, they are not actually done to contract the recurrent. They are done to contract the development budget. Now, and this is the problem. Today we say that we will be collecting 2.9 trillion. We don't do it. We collect 2.5 trillion, example. So what happened to the works which were given, and especially the development works which were given? Pending bills. The same thing to the county government. Well, you can see that the county government are struggling. KEMSA is being killed by county governments. Why? They are not paying. Why are they not paying? They are not efficient in tax collection. So ultimately it means that they won't be paid. So the KEMSA will go down. So drugs will not come. So health, universal health coverage will collapse. So from where I'm sitting and from where I'm standing, actually I'm not sitting. From where I'm standing, I can see that there is, I can see a looming collapse in key departments which are pillars to this government. It was pillar, it is pillar, and it will continue to be pillar. Health. So what should happen, for instance, in the Kenya Kwanza government? We agree, Kenya Kwanza is the ruling party, and we support it as such. But people will not pay taxes on items that they cannot see. People will not pay taxes on things they cannot feel the effect, you know. So ultimately, and I want to tell MCA, my friend here, Luku, previously, before doing what I'm doing, currently I'm supporting counties to realize what is the problem with own source revenue. I was in county government as county executive committee member in charge of finance, like Laikipia County. And we were able to move own source revenues from 450 to 1 billion within 4 years. What did we do? No magic. We tried to we tried to address what are the items or factors, you know, the bottlenecks, which are hindering the growth of this. So the same thing can happen. Wanga, for instance, Her Excellency Wanga in Homa Bay, she has not revised her finance bill upwards, vertically. What has she done? Support these businesses. So try to bring in control, and the CPGs, seal all these CPGs. So have we done that? Let me give you a practical example. And this is what's happening. And I think you can go and find out, because this can be a very interesting scenario. I'm trying to get an invoice. Today, you must get an invoice called eTeams invoice. Now, this eTeams invoice is, you go to your portal eTeams, then you log in your details, how much, who you are paying, and then you get the invoice. This is my 6th day trying to do that. Systems are down. Okay. So, and when I went to KRA, I was not alone. A queue of people there, they are standing. What's your problem? eTeams invoicing, I cannot get paid. eTeams invoicing, I cannot. Personally, people owe me, they cannot pay me. Why? I cannot produce an eTeams invoice. So, can we first of all deal with what is ailing us before going and
saying structures? Because it would appear that the whole budget making process, while very well defined, and from when it starts to when it ends, that there are existing and very huge loopholes within the system itself that makes the entire budgeting process a failure.
True. Look at this year's proposal. It is contained in a 4,000 page, a huge document. Fred, even you as the ordinary Wajiko, if you're given that document, how many days would you need to read through? The government need to put structures in place so that the budget is a process. It's not a 2 weeks process. Why is the National Assembly being rushed through to implement this budget? Because in essence, people do not have reading. What should the National Assembly be doing? Instead of going to the villages and singing choirs for pro or against, Ruto or Rigadi, they should literally pick a page after a page. Take Wajiko through Wajiko loves paying taxes, Fred. Yeah. We love paying taxes. Yes. But when you bring figures that people do not understand, then we have a problem. The government has an issue with communication. It is lacking in communication. The government needs to put structures in place so that you communicate effectively the message. Listen to what my brother has said. He's been traveling from Nanyuki to go to KRA to get communication from that institution on how to manage the e-teams. How many other Kenyans today are suffering from the same? So we do not, yes, the government has those structures, but they are sleeping on their jobs. They are refusing retail to work. It's only that they have those structures, but they are refusing to work. The COB herself said last year, when she had presented her views during the NADCO report, that in the budget of 2022-2023, her salary had been tripled. Who addressed that query? Even today as we talk, Fred, nobody has addressed those queries. The National Assembly, I'm happy today here we have two very able MCAs. Let them go back to their respective places and deal with the issues of structures and issues of oversight, so that the matters that has been brought out by Wajiko herself can be addressed. My brother from Laikipia has said he's been trying to look for e-teams. Who from the KRA today can address that feedback area issue and say, on the persons dealing with e-teams, we've clarified the issue, can they deal with the same? Last year, December, we had a collapse of the e-citizen platform. It took a whole week for the government to realize that literally the systems are paralyzed. How long will it take for leadership of KRA, Anthony Moura, how long will it take to realize that services in KRA are not flowing? Is it the issue of staff motivation, staff morale, that they've literally crumbled their position? Is it the issue of the leadership of the counties, that they do not want services to be delivered? He has brought out the issue of Homa Bay, where Homa Bay have articulated its issues and is coming out clearly. How many other counties can borrow you from what Homa Bay is doing?
Okay. The headline on page 11 of the Standard talks about the counties in Mount Kenya region and the issue of revenue collection, on-source revenue. Kiambu leads Mount Kenya counties in on-source revenue after it collected an extra 1 billion shillings in the first 9 months of 2023-2024. These according to the Control of Budget. Other counties Murang'a came second with the 716 million, Meru 671, and Nyeri collected 492. There is potential, because even for Nyeri, that's a 12% increase. There is potential for better collection, meaning people are paying more to governments, both at the national level and at the county level. Yeah. But for how long will people continue paying more if the services are not, cannot be equated?
You know, friend, and I want to start where you are saying that some budgets have been cut in government, and I think you did well because you had earlier read that Deputy President's budget cut by $500 million. You see, that one, even the President's budget, the Prime Cabinet Minister's budget, because you know some of these headlines just go to show as if it is the Deputy President who is being targeted, but it is happening all over the government. The presidency, the president had his budget cut, the Prime Cabinet, that way. So that was good to clarify. Then there is this issue of revenue, and on revenue that would actually excite my chair finance, called Honorable Kavaile, very much, because he really is into it on how we should raise our own source revenue. But Fred, when we say that counties are borrowing money on the current expenditure, we need to know the counties inherited, like in Nyeri, we inherited a very bloated, quite a huge number of government workers. In fact, they have surpassed the 35% threshold.
From which administration?
From the now the Nyeri was the central province headquarters, so you would expect there were a lot of workers there. Yes. So they have surpassed the 35% of workers, as per the law. And you see, you cannot go and sack those workers. now you get into problems with the labor courts, labor laws, they inhibit you. So, I believe things are balancing as we move on in devolution. Things are balancing because now when people retire, maybe they retire more, you get a small intake until we get the necessary numbers. But one thing I want to differ with my brother here, Robert, is that if they have those corruption issues he's talking about, too sad and sorry for them. Because personally, I don't imagine I would ever support something that, would be detrimental to the people I represent. Therefore, and when we talk of all these resources and the taxation regime per se, my brother Robert knows, we've been pursuing the issue of ward funds. And this would be one of the best ways of using our taxes. And in fact, it would solve a lot of problem on the issue of resources sharing the country. Because, and luckily, we have a president and a government that is supporting us. We've been really pushing it from the party position, even as the entire MCs. And luckily, we have the support of our president and the government. Because if, for example, we get every ward in the Republic of Kenya getting 30 to 40 million, or even 50, depending on the availability of resources, that would resolve a lot of issues. My brother here and all the other MCs, we shall be able to oversight the governors without their interfering with the processes like of budget meetings, skill development in our wards. So that's something we will pursue. Luckily, the Senate Committee on Devolution have now really moved, the Finance Committee, led by Senator Ali Roba. We even met them recently, because now they are now doing that motion brought by the deputy governor, the deputy speaker of the Senate, that all the assemblies in the Republic of Kenya will be autonomous. So when we talk about strengthening,
But that will still be subject to legislation. But before I continue,
it is what is going on.
Let me talk to Monalai. Like, for example, in Nairobi County, people are paying more taxes. But the issue of garbage collection is still a problem. The problems are so glaring. And the question is, for how long will Kenyans continue paying more taxes without striking a proper equilibrium between service delivery and the taxation? And what risk does that pose going forward?
I think also, let's not assume that higher collection of taxes is people paying more taxes. It means that, the governors are also trying to be greedy. They can be going for previously untapped, resources. But I also believe that, the potential of the counties has barely been touched, especially on source. You realize that if you check on the growth of revenue from KRA for the national government, from in the last 10 years, it has grown 2.5 times. But the counties has barely grown. In fact, the highest collection done in Nairobi was during Kidero's time. It means the counties have stagnated at some point, if Nairobi is not giving the inspiration. And also you realize that this country is basically majorly an informal employment scene.
It's an employment bureau.
Yeah. You see the growth of this country is driven by the SMEs and the Geokali sector. We have 15 million people in the informal sector. We have 3 million people in the formal employment, and these 3 million people are now crying that they are being taxed more and more and more, and some of them are arguing that you'd rather go home with the tax instead of what is remaining on your pay slip. While the government is not developing modalities on how to bring dignity to the informal sector and ensure that they are tapped. You remember during the President Kibaki's time, there was a move to ban the importation of used spare parts. And when you saw the mechanics uniting against President Kibaki and trying to storm KICC, Kibaki said, no, leteni viongozi wenu. And when they brought their viongozi, for the first time they united 480,000 mechanics. United. Nobody has seen the need to bring those people to the formal regime of taxation, and also to ensure that at least they are given support in regards to financial incentives like, banking services. They cannot access loans, proper loans. They cannot access insurance services. And some of them are making good money. If you go to Grogan area or Baricho Road, you'll find mechanics making there in a day probably 50, 60, 70,000 in a day. They're driving big cars, but nobody has seen the need to bring these people into the formal tax regime. We have presented a concept paper to the governor of Nairobi that, this Juakali sector, the mechanics, the carpenters, the welders, the saloonists, the barbers, the electricians, can we give them a business registration? It's going to dignify. Can we ensure that their business premises are given tracking numbers? Can you give them, a formal kind of payment they can be making to the county, which can be, if Nairobi give inspiration, other countries will follow soon.
True.
Will, and we will reduce pressure on the people who are in formal employment. Because there is too much pressure to tax the already taxed. But nobody is trying to ensure that the people who are not in this, but they are making good money. These are the fabricators in this country. If you go and buy a gate up at Northern Bypass, you'll buy gates 200,000, but they're not in the ETR. Nobody's paying. At least if I was going to see some.
Is that the risk that this higher taxation will actually ensure that the black market thrives? Because there are people who have warned of that. Kindly comment on that, Bwana Murungi.
Yeah, so that's actually what will happen, and that is what I was mentioning about the 2.5 taxation on car. So people will find a way of not paying, even the insurance, even the 2.5. But I would like to get back to the counties, because I can see Nyeri and Nairobi is represented here. But because there are some studies and advisory services I'm doing to the county, I would like the nation to first of all get this data and statistics right. The potential of all counties in Kenya, according to the CRA, is 216 billion. 216 billion. But counties collect about 38 billion. Last financial year, they collected 38 billion. So if you do your maths right, this is 13% of the potential. Now, on the same breath, counties had targeted their own target about 65. So they did on average about 65% after targeting 65 billion per year. So now the question is, what is ailing? On the other side, pending bills, which emanate from under collection of OSR majorly, and I'm talking from empirical cause I've done it, I'm advising people, and I've done it at Laikipia County. 90% of pending bills emanates from non-realization of own source revenue. National government and also in the counties. So now what is the problem here? 159 billion worth of pending bills are owed by the counties, and the number increases. In fact, this number never comes down, because counties are saying we will collect, like for instance, a county may say, I want to collect 2 billion. It collects 1.5. What happens to the works of 500 million given out, pending bill? So who addresses that? Nobody. Let's go to the next year. What does the law say? The Public Finance Management Act, that when you are appropriating or when you are budgeting for the next financial year, the first charge should be this. Pending bills must be. And I'm not sure if my friends here are doing it to make sure that within the budget, that pending bills are priority. These guys are suffering. These guys are dying. These guys' depression is real. But we are not addressing it as a nation, as counties and all that. Okay. The good thing, I can tell you, is that after all this research, we have decided to come and share with counties, the county assembly and that on 19th and 20th at Kenya School of Monetary Studies. We'll sit down with them and tell them this is what is ailing us. It's not the system, it's not the board, but this is where the problem is, and this is what you can do to go towards realizing your potential. How good it would be for counties to at least finance about 30 to 40% of their budget using their own source revenue. Unfortunately, today, few counties are financing 10% of their budget. So 90% is coming from equitable share. So when the equitable share delays, there is all over.
The little that comes.
So Mheshimiwa Dhuku, I think the first thing is once you make sure that this revenue is well collected, then the one fund, which I support so much, then will just come because there will be sufficient cash.
And we only have 4 minutes to go, so I'll give each one of you a minute for your final comments. Starting with you,
I want to address the issue of the Crop Act 2022, where we need the government to classify the Mogoka and the Mira. We've had a heated debate for the last 2 weeks, touching literally on the Mount Kenya, because the consumers, primarily consumers from the coast, have banned the usage of that product. Leadership of those counties are trying to create provisions for control, yet the government has not regulated the Crop Act 2022. It is the high time. They need to seek wisdom from the AG himself, because even in the AG himself, he has pronounced that you do not need to verify the Mogoka and the Mira. But the government, if it needs to literally deal with the ban on the Mogoka and Mira, let it first address the Act Crop 2022.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. I think my closing remarks, we'll just go back to the debate we had earlier. You know, we were talking about how political instability can cause a lot of ruptures and stymie development. Personally, I want to say, if people want to be united, that's a very, very good thing. But again, we are barely 2 years from elections. And I saw with my own eyes what happened during President Uhuru Kenyatta's final years, when there were those political disagreements. Developments, I was also an MC at that time. My ward was badly affected, roads could not be done and such things. So I would like to exhaust our leaders. Let us unite. Let's focus on the things we promised our people, because primarily I'm a leader, and what I promised my people, I must work with the current government to get it delivered to the people on the ground. Okay. And we want to tell those people who want to increase water from the area I come from, they want to increase a unit of water from 34 shillings to 90 shillings. And they have not even done proper public participation. I want to tell them, if they try that, we will take them to court. People must come, they must involve the consumers. The consumers must agree what they are able to pay. Water is a basic human right enshrined in our constitution. I thank you very much.
Okay. Bonalai.
Yeah, so mine is to Kenyans to please focus on the counties as much as you focus on the national government. If you focus on the budget of the national government and you forget the budget of the counties, which is going to affect you at the grassroots level, because a lot of functions are devolved, then you are going to suffer in a great deal. So listen to the estimates which are being put across, do public participation, ensure that you are aware of what laws are being changed in the counties to push you further into the regime of paying more taxes. And we have to pay attention, you know, when the deputy president makes a lot of noise on his personal comfort, we also ask him to at least give us leadership on the issue of taxation. And we hope that is going to be the benefit of the country, because the country needs to get a very robust way of financial management. And if we don't do that, we are going to suffer. Lastly, I would like to talk on the issue of the demolitions which are ongoing throughout the Nairobi. And we are blaming the president, though that I know that docket is led by the deputy president, and it's the meeting which I attended which brought about my Shoko's letter.
Trouble.
Yeah, so I would like you know, the government to be very humane in the demolitions, because you know what has happened in Nairobi, throughout Nairobi, it is inhuman. They need to find alternative ways of handling the people who have been left homeless. There are people who have lived along those rivers since independence. Where do we take them? You know, where do we ensure that at least they get the next accommodation, so that we don't left them to die in very bad. We are getting into the cold season in Nairobi, and it's going to be harsh.
Thank you. Finally, Murungi,
so
60 seconds.
Yeah, as an economist, and of course a member of Economic Society of Kenya, I'm not pessimist, but I would say I will say that we are not sitting very well as Africans and also as Kenyans, because we have turned our economy to be consumers and traders. So we are barely producing. So we are not producing sufficient enough for our consumption and to trade. So what we are doing is things are being manufactured outside and they are being brought here. So our work is trading. So the day that Kenya gets out of trading and go to its real production, manufacturing, that is the time that we will stop saying that nimepata kazi 1000 Germany and then Germany. Because what we are supposed to do is produce ourselves and attract people to come and assist us produce. That is what Taiwan did. That is what other giants did. So Kenyans, let us concentrate. In fact, the government, let us concentrate to support production, to support manufacturing. That is the key to economic development. Thank you so much.
5 seconds only.
Yes.
We are out of time.
Yes, sir. I don't want to leave here without doing justice to Honorable Arai. Allow me to congratulate him very much. He have started seeing this government objectively, at least by the way it is supporting Baba.
Okay.
It's a good starting point.
Thank you so much, Kiruga Dhuku, Chairperson UDA MCS Caucus and member of the UDA NEC. Robert Alai, MCA Kileleshwa Ward, Murungi Ndai, Public Finance Management Act expert, and Joyce Omahio, Economic